Andrew and Emma agreed to meet for a date at the park entrance at 9 p.m. But there was a slight problem. Both Andrew's and Emma's watches were showing the wrong time. Andrew's watch was 3 minutes behind, but he thought it was 2 minutes ahead. Emma's watch, on the other hand, was 2 minutes ahead, but she thought it was 3 minutes behind. Which of them do you think will be late for the date? Andrew will be 5 minutes late and Emma will be 5 minutes early. Gemma was attending a technology-themed costume party. When she arrived at the venue, she saw 3 people chatting by the drinks buffet who were all dressed in robot costumes. However, she noticed that one of them was a real robot. Can you tell who? Everyone is holding drinks in their hands, but take a look at the second guy. His glass is empty, but he's still pretending to drink something from it. Robots and liquids don't go well together, so he must be an actual robot. Realizing that Gemma noticed him, the robot immediately pulled her to the corner of the room and said, "Now that you know my real identity, I need to wipe your memory. But if you can answer my riddle correctly, I'll let you go. I have keys, but open no locks. I have space, but no room. You can enter, but you can't go inside. What am I?" The answer is a computer. Janice, Candace, and Demeter were 3 witches who cared a lot about looking young and beautiful, but one of them was actually 100 years old. Can you tell me who? The first witch, Candace, who is taking a selfie, looks like an old woman on her phone screen, but that's just a social media filter. As for the second witch, Janice, the creepy old lady-looking shadow at the back is not her shadow. It's an evil spirit that's haunting her. But look at the mirror the third witch, Demeter, is holding. It's reflecting what she doesn't want others to see, aka her true face. So she's the old lady here. Lloyd went to the costume store to buy something to wear for Halloween. Once he selected a costume for himself, he headed to the fitting rooms to try it, but all 3 of them were occupied. A few minutes later, 3 different customers in costumes came out of them. The first one was wearing a vampire costume. The second was wearing a werewolf costume. And the third one was wearing a zombie costume. But Lloyd immediately realized that one of them was actually a real monster. Can you tell who? Take a look at the mirrors in front of the fitting rooms. The customer in the vampire's costume doesn't have a reflection. That can only mean he is a real vampire. Sir Ridley Stormrider was a knight searching for his one true love. He traveled to the kingdom of Veridonia after hearing rumors that there was a magical mirror there, which revealed the location of the heart's desire to those who looked into it. But there was a catch. It would only reveal it to you if you knew the answer to the riddle that was engraved on it. I'm often running, but I never get tired. What am I? Can you help Sir Ridley Stormrider find love? The correct answer is water. Inspector Banner was inspecting the Academy of History and Science. During his inspection, he noticed that whenever he asked the class a question, all the students raised their hands in response. Moreover, even though the school teacher chose a different student each time, the answer was always correct. How did this work? The teacher had prearranged with the students that they would be called upon to answer regardless of whether they knew the answer or not. But those who knew the answer should raise their right hand, and those who did not know should raise their left hand. The teacher chose a different student each time. but always the one who raised his right hand. Amy had one last test to pass before she graduated. Her professor asked her only one question during the exam, which was this: you have 2 candle wicks. Each wick, lit from the end, burns completely to the ground in exactly 1 hour, but it burns at an uneven rate. How can you use these wicks and a lighter to measure 45 minutes? Can you help Amy graduate? It's necessary to light the first wick simultaneously from both ends, which will give you 30 minutes. Simultaneously with the first wick, you light the second wick from the end, and when the first wick burns out after 30 minutes, you light the second wick from the other end, which will give you the remaining 15 minutes. Layla's best friend was her dog named Gamgee. One night after spotting a falling star in the sky, she wished that Gamgee could talk to her. Then, suddenly, the star came to life in front of her and said, "I will grant you your wish if you can answer this riddle of mine. Always old, sometimes new, never sad, sometimes blue, never empty, sometimes full, never pushes, always pulls. What am I?" The answer is the moon. To Layla's surprise, her dog really started talking. The first thing it said was, "Oh, this riddle game is so fun! I want to play it too! Here's my riddle to you. What's always found on the ground but never gets dirty?" It's a shadow. Jamie was standing at the edge of a circular lake. The lake was 200 feet in diameter, and there was a small island directly in the middle. There was a large tree next to him and a large tree in the middle of the island. Jamie needed to get to the island in the middle of the lake, but he didn't know how to swim. He only had a little over 200 feet of rope. How can he use that to get there? First, Jamie needs to tie one end of the rope to the tree next to him. Then, while he's holding the other end of the rope, he should walk all the way around the lake. This will wrap the rope around the tree in the center. When he returns to his starting point, he needs to tie the end of the rope he's holding to the large tree again. He can now use this rope bridge to hold on to and cross the lake to the island. Cedric was a brilliant scientist. One day, suddenly a small portal appeared in his lap, and a little device with a letter attached to it fell on his head right before the portal closed. The letter said, "From future Cedric to past Cedric. One of my experiments accidentally caused chaos to be unleashed on Earth. That is why I have to prevent you from conducting this experiment in the first place. You will find the details inside the box, but you can only open it if you know the answer to this riddle. What occurs once in a minute, twice in a moment, and never in 1,000 years? Can you help Cedric save the future world?" The answer is the letter M. People who visited the town of Maplebrook often found themselves intrigued by Mr. Perry. He had a reputation of a not quite intelligent person. That was because when offered a choice between a 50-cent coin and a $5 bill, he always chose the coin, even though it was worth 10 times less than the banknote. Can you tell why he never chose the banknote? Well, he was not so foolish after all. You see, he realized that as long as he chose the 50-cent coin, people would offer him money to choose from, and if he chose the $5 bill, the offers of money would stop, and he would get nothing.
Sarah is a PhD student at UTC. She lives in a big house with 4 other students from her program. One Friday night, She went out for coffee, and when she returned home, she found her super expensive laptop was missing. It had her top-notch research in it. She suspected that one of her housemates might have stolen it, so she decided to conduct an investigation. Alex, the oldest of them all, said he had been working in his room all day long and that he had been so focused on his work that he didn't see or hear anything out of the ordinary. Ben, who was one of Sarah's best friends, said he had been watching TV in the living room while she went out and hadn't seen anyone go in or out of the house. And Chloe, Sarah's apprentice, said she had gone out for groceries about the same time Sarah had gone out for coffee. After hearing all of them out, Sarah knew immediately who had stolen her laptop. Can you guess who did it? It was Chloe. She said she had gone out for groceries. But Ben was in the living room the entire time and didn't see anyone leave the house. She probably stole it to see the secret things Sarah had been working on. It's a rainy morning in New York City, and 3 influencers are waiting for a cab in the rain. One of them is in Brooklyn Heights, the other is in Chelsea, and the last one is in Bushwick. Take a look at the image. Can you tell who is going to get wet first? It's definitely the one who is in Bushwick. See how the rain is coming from behind her? That umbrella is not going to help very much. A group of friends were backpacking through Europe during the summer. During the last week of their trip, they decided to go to Italy. They spent the morning visiting ancient ruins, and by lunchtime, they were ready for some pasta. They sat down at a local restaurant and ate delicious Italian food. But when it was time to pay the bill, they noticed their wallets were missing. Since they didn't have money to pay for their meal, the restaurant owner called the police. As soon as the police arrived, they questioned each one of the travelers. "I remember seeing Alice with her wallet before we left the hostel," Emily said. "Well, I did have my wallet with me, but it might have fallen in the last Uber drive we took to get here," Alice said. "I'm sure I had my wallet with me when I got to the restaurant, but I just can't seem to find it now," Jake said. "My wallet was in the bag the whole time, but I just noticed someone opened it and left it open," Lily said. The police officer wasn't sure whether the group of travelers was telling the truth, so he asked to see the restaurant security footage. Take a look at the image. Is the group of friends lying or telling the truth? They were telling the truth. Look at that suspicious guy that entered the restaurant. He pretended to be a waiter to get close to the table. But he stole all of the travelers' wallets. Yike! We're talking a master pickpocket here. A small town only has 3 detectives. Since they all claim to be the best detective in town, the mayor came up with the ultimate challenge to determine once and for all who is the best. On that evening's TV announcement, the mayor said, "My cat Whiskers just went missing today, and I need the best detective to find him within 24 hours." The town's detectives, Toby, Juan, and Chloe, got to work immediately. Each of them adopted a different investigation method. Toby thought it was best to interview the mayor's neighbors to see where they had last seen Whiskers. Juan searched the town's main open public areas, such as the parks and playgrounds. And Chloe decided to follow the thin trail of cat fur and footprints starting from the mayor's place. Can you guess who found Whiskers first? It was Chloe. By following the trail left behind by the cat, she found Whiskers a few miles away from the house, and won the title of the best detective in town. Liam was a famous engineer working at Gentech Corp. He had recently won an award for inventing an AI-driven robot assistant. One day, he arrived at work and found that his highly secured lab door was open and his robot was missing. His lab was protected by high-tech security devices, so he knew the person who broke in knew what they were doing. He accessed his computer logs and found a sequence of numbers that looked out of place. The numbers were 12, 9, 6, and 5. At the bottom of the page, a 4-spaced box appeared, asking for a key. He tried typing the numbers in, but they didn't work. He reflected upon them for a while and realized they were hiding an encrypted message. He discovered that the numbers translated into a word. Can you figure out what the message was hiding? Liam understood that the numbers were referring to a letter of the alphabet. The 12th letter is the letter L, and the 9th letter is the letter I. So, the sequence makes up the word LIFE, which is pronounced life. He inserted the word LIFE into the box at the bottom of his computer, and 4 different videos opened up on his screen. Each one of the videos showed a different location. The first video showed a park right next to Liam's office building. The second video showed an electric car shop. The third video showed Liam's living room, and the last video showed a theme park. Liam guessed that these images were a clue to where his robot might be. Can you help him choose the most likely place where the robot could be? If you look closely, the robot's legs appear in the first video. Liam headed down to the park, hoping to find his robot assistant. As soon as he arrived, he saw the robot sitting on the park bench alone. Liam looked extremely confused. He went up to the robot and asked it how it managed to escape the lab. It said it would only answer Liam if he correctly guessed what phrase was hidden in this enigmatic image. Can you help Liam figure it out? Oh, this sure is a clever robot. The phrase hidden in this image is, "I have my own life." I guess this AI robot was asking for some space of his own, huh? The robot finally admitted he escaped from the lab by himself. Liam was shocked because this was not programmed at all. When he tried entering a command to make his assistant follow him back to the lab, the robot multiplied into 2 other virtual robots. Liam wasn't paying attention at the moment, so he got confused as to which one was the original robot. Can you tell? It's the third one on the right. See how the sun reflects on its metal, but not on the other ones? Meanwhile, it was Johnny's 7th birthday, and the family decided to celebrate with a picnic at the park. The entire family was there, including the 2 dogs, Luke and Obi-Wan. During a game of throw and catch, Luke went missing. The family searched the nearby woods but couldn't find their pet. That's when they decided to call the police office. The police listened attentively to each family member's account. The dad said that he had seen Luke chase a squirrel deeper into the woods. Mom said she had heard Luke barking from the riverbank. Emma, Johnny's sister, said she had heard Luke barking from the meadow. Ethan, Johnny's older brother, said he could have sworn seeing Luke head toward the park's old bridge. Based on each one of the family members' accounts, where should the police officer look for the dog first? he should start at the old bridge. Ethan was the only one who gave a specific direction to where the dog might have headed, so that's probably the police's best guess for now. Oh look, there's Luke. He has a unique bark. Darth, Darth.
Hannah runs a dance show. She arrived in Finland with the 3 best dancers to perform during the winter holidays. On the first day of the trip, Hannah started to feel really bad and was taken to the doctor. After examining Hannah, the doctor claimed that someone had poisoned the girl. Hannah's manager flew in to interrogate each one of the dancers and find out if they'd had anything to do with what happened to Hannah. Kira said that she and the other girls had left the hotel early in the morning to explore the city. She also mentioned that Hannah had stayed behind to do a conference call in her room. Pam said she had spent the afternoon swimming at the beach, and that when she returned, she noticed Hannah was looking pretty bad. April said she decided to go to the museum all by herself since the other girls didn't want to join her. Hannah's manager noticed the girls' testimonies didn't match, and that it was definitely one of them who'd done it. Can you guess who is the culprit? It was Pam.
Oh, no.
She mentioned she'd gone to the beach, but it's wintertime in Finland. The water is freezing and mainly frozen this time of the year. She should have worked better on her alibi.
Oh no!
Hannah's manager called the police, and they arrested Pam. Kira and April felt bad for their friend, but they still had to put on a show, and now they were a dancer short. The girls decided to look online for a new dancer. They found 3 girls who might do a good job at replacing Pam. Deborah, Lily, and Sally. One of the girls is a perfect match for the trio. Can you guess who? It's Sally. Both of the other profiles are fake. If you look closely at Deborah's picture, you'll see that the shadow on the back is not hers. It's definitely photoshopped. And look at Lily's birthday information. If that were true, she wouldn't have been born yet. Keith was a singer, and he was going to perform at Bath's House of Performing Arts. He was taking all of his equipment backstage to get ready for a sound check when a police officer ran into the room. The officer said that one of the actors from that night's show was a runaway criminal. There were 4 actors playing Santa Claus, but one of them was a fake. Take a look at their bags. Can you figure out who the criminal is? It's the owner of the 3rd bag. Santa never shaves off his beard, and that guy is carrying shaving cream. He must be the runaway. Becky just bought new augmented reality goggles. She decided to play one of the games available, and this picture popped up right in front of her. These 3 people sure are in some bizarre situations, but which one doesn't make any sense? The man on the left is walking on lava. Sure, someone can do that, although it won't last for too long without the right kind of shoes. The man on the right is walking on desert sand, which is fully normal. But the woman in the middle looks like she is walking on burning water. That definitely doesn't make any sense. Felicity was 10 weeks pregnant when she decided to try a new doctor in town. The doctor did an ultrasound of her belly and gladly said, "Ah, it's a boy." Felicity looked confused and said, "No, I'm pretty sure I'm having twins." The doctor was the one that looked confused after Felicity's answer. Take a look at both women. Can you tell who's right? Felicity is right. I mean, take a look at this doctor. She isn't even a real doctor in the first place. She's not wearing proper medical attire, and she doesn't look like she knows what she is doing. Alex watched one too many Indiana Jones movies and decided to go to Egypt to explore ancient monuments. He spent days and days walking underground to try to find something valuable. One morning, when exploring a crypt, he ran into a huge wall full of symbols. Among the symbols, there was an encrypted message. It went like this: sun plus sun equals sign, moon plus moon equals sign, wave plus wave equals sign. Can you help Alex figure out the encoded message? This is not an easy one, but here's how it works. Sun has 3 letters, moon has 4 letters, and waves has 5 letters. So the encrypted message is the number sequence. 6, 8, 10. Way to go, you. Take a good look at this image. Can you tell who is smarter? Let's see. There's a part of the house on fire, so ice would be a bad way to try to extinguish it. You would have to wait for the ice to melt into water. But during that time, the fire just grows. Liquid water is the best medium for rapid extinguishment, so the person on the right looks like they know what they are doing. Aura had been searching for the entrance to Bythia, a hidden city inside a mountain, for ages. She searched the 7 seas and the 7 lands until she finally found a hidden door, guarded by 3 ancient creatures. She asked them if this was the entrance to Bythia, but they wouldn't say a word. Finally, the wise owl said she had to give a correct answer to a riddle from each creature, and only then they would tell her about Bythia. The wise owl said, "I have branches, yet I'm not a tree. I have a bank, yet I hold no money. What am I? Can you help Aura out?" The correct answer is a river. A river has branches that flow into different streams, and the sides of the river are called riverbanks. The fox was up next, and his riddle said, "I have a bed, yet I don't sleep. I have a mouth, yet don't eat. What am I?" Aura took a while to figure this one out, but she got it right. Can you guess what she said? It's an oven, duh. Pretty obvious now that you think of it. Up next was the deer. He said, "I have a face, yet no eyes to see. I have a tail, yet no ability to wag. What am I?" Do you know how to answer this one? It's a clock. A clock has a face with numbers but no eyes. And it has a tail that we call a pendulum, but it doesn't wag like an animal's tail. The wise owl opened the door and showed Aura that there were 3 pathways leading to Bythia. She should choose the correct one, otherwise she would get stuck in this in-between place forever and would never be able to get out. Take a look at the pathways. Which one should Aura choose to complete her journey? The first pathway looks like it has some poisonous flowers. The air looks like it's filled with their poisoned pollen, so that wouldn't be a nice one to go. The second pathway has dozens of angry-looking stags that could harm Aura, and the last one has a big lake that leads into a trail. She should go with the last one. On a rainy Saturday night, John and Katie decided to stay in, order pizza, and watch the Riddle channel on their TV. On the screen, they saw a man hanging for his life on the branch of a tree. He was surrounded by angry people. Down below, there were a group of guys with huge bats waiting for him to let go of the branch, and above him was an angry guy on a helicopter ready to grab him. Is there any way the guy can escape this trap? He should throw the bat that's in his pocket to the floor, aiming at the group below him. Hopefully, it would hit the guys below on the head, so he could let go of the branch and run as fast as he could into that nearby tunnel. This way, he'd escape the helicopter dude as well.
A beauty contest is taking place in the city. Melanie wins and gets her beauty queen crown. After the contest, a cleaning lady finds Melanie lying unconscious backstage. The detective arrives at the crime scene in 20 minutes. He asks the suspects just one question. "What were you doing within the last 20 minutes?" Holly, the rival, says, "I was taking selfies with my boyfriend." Steve, the photographer, says, "I was taking pictures of the contestants." Mr. Bold, the judge, says, "I was talking to my wife." And the cleaning lady, Stella, says, "I just found Melanie and called 911 right away. And then I just stayed with her until the doctor's arrival." Who's lying? Steve. There's Melanie in his pictures. Therefore, he couldn't have taken them within the last 20 minutes. Bella comes on a famous TV show for money. Her last task is to put her hand in one of 3 tanks. There are gold bars in each of them. She's allowed to get them if she can. One tank is filled with boiling water, and the second one with acid that will burn any flesh. And the third tank is filled with venomous scorpions. Which tank should Bella put her hand in? Bella should just wait until the boiled water cools off and use the first tank. James is walking in the woods. Suddenly, he spots a leprechaun. James grabs the creature and asks him, "Where's your gold? Answer me now!" The leprechaun says,
"It's under this tree. Just let me go."
James replies, I don't have a shovel. I have to go home. But how can I find this place later?" James comes up with an idea. He ties a red ribbon over the tree to recognize it among the others. And then James makes the leprechaun swear not to take off the ribbon. But the leprechaun finds a way to hide his gold from James without breaking the oath. What did he do? He tied a red ribbon on every tree in this forest. Tricky leprechauns. Holly and Sally prepare a new prank. They go to school at 5 a.m. and sneak into the classroom. Suddenly, they see a bat turning into their biology teacher. They spend all day staring at her. Is there any proof that she's a vampire? Take a look at her coat. She's hiding a very peculiar object in her pocket. Let's take a closer look at this group of people. One of the ladies is kidnapped. Can you guess who? It's the lady on the right. If the left lady was kidnapped, she wouldn't have had a handbag with her. Megan arrives from work and finds out that her cat is missing. She must have sneaked out from the window. Megan goes around the neighborhood and questions 3 possible witnesses. Molly says, "I've just arrived from work. I didn't see any cats on the way." Mrs. Darling says, "I already have 15 cats. Why do I need yours?" Victor says, "I'm allergic to most animals, so I've never had any pets. And I don't know how to help you." Who's lying? Victor. There are cat footprints in his garden leading to a pet door on his porch. So he obviously has a pet. 4 people in Halloween costumes robbed a bank. But eventually, they get caught and arrested the same night. One of them is only 12 years old. Can you guess who? This guy. His hands are too small for these handcuffs. Which lady is richer? The lady on the right. Her name is engraved on a handbag, and another woman is proudly wearing it. On Monday afternoon, students find their math teacher unconscious in the classroom. Someone attacked him during the lunch break. The police suspect that the criminal is one of the students. Can you spot this person? The teacher grabbed the attacker's shirt and ripped it. This guy doesn't wear a shirt. Therefore, he's a criminal. James and Molly have been married for 5 years, but they haven't taken a vacation yet. Finally, they decide to go to the ocean. To get there, they have to cross the border. The guard says, "You have to tell me the password if you want to pass." Can you help them crack the password? You should literally count the number of benches, trees, and apples in this area. So the code is 471. Dan and Sam are hanging out on a beach. Dan plays volleyball and then goes to a beach cafe to have some drinks. Dan tries his coconut. Soon after that, he feels sick and faints. Sam calls 911 and they take Dan to the hospital. The policeman questions 3 suspects. Sam says, "He drank a coconut from this cafe and felt sick. I think the waiter poisoned him." The waiter says, "Why would I do that? Dan played volleyball before coming here and won the game. Perhaps his opponent decided to get revenge." And Kyle, the opponent, replies, "We finished the game and I went swimming in the sea." Who poisoned Dan? Take a look at the score. Dan lost the game. Therefore, the waiter lied about his winning to frame Kyle. Sheila is taking a boat trip, but not all passengers are humans. Can you spot who's not? Take a look at the broomstick. It's levitating. She's a witch. It's a sunny Sunday morning. Gia and her daughter Lizzie are watching TV. According to the forecast, it will be a rainy and windy day today. Gia says, "Lizzie, please don't go outside today. You may catch a cold." Gia goes shopping and leaves Lizzie home alone. She comes back in about 2 hours. It was raining, and Gia immediately realizes that Lizzie did go outside. How did she know? Someone moved the umbrella. Kelly arrives at a hotel where she booked a room. The manager says that she can choose a room. There are 4 available options. Can you help Kelly make the right choice? There's a stinky dump behind the window in the first room. As for the second room, there's someone watching through this painting. And there's a zombie in the closet in the 4th room. So Kelly should stay in the 3rd room. Jack is a successful lawyer. He has a small country house where he lives alone. Once he goes on a business trip, 5 days later he gets home and discovers that someone has entered his office. His enemies must have searched it. How did he know? Someone lowered his chair. Stella goes to her favorite cafeteria to have lunch. She can choose one of 3 combos. But she's allergic to seafood, all green vegetables, and all red berries. Can you help her choose the safest option? First of all, let's exclude the 3rd lunch. There are shrimp swimming in this soup. The chicken burrito combo looks good, but the dessert contains red berries. So, Stella should choose the lasagna. Lisa breaks her phone and goes to the service center. There, she meets 3 workers. One of them is an imposter. Can you guess who? This first guy. He's using a regular fork to repair the device. Peter is walking in a garden. He takes some pretty pictures of the full moon. Suddenly, someone pushes him from behind and he faints. After a while, Peter wakes up in a creepy basement. A mysterious voice says that Peter can escape through one of these 3 doors. There are multiple wolves behind the first door. They haven't been eating for 2 years, so they're very hungry and angry. There's a forest full of venomous monsters behind the second door. They hate humankind, and it's impossible to get through them alive. And there's a creepy werewolf waiting behind the third door. Which way is more or less safe? Room 2 is a bad idea. It's a full moon. So room 3 is also unsafe. Therefore, Peter should choose the first door. Wolves can't survive without food for 2 years. Wendy is preparing a college project in a co-working space. She leaves her laptop on the table and goes to the bathroom. Then she returns and finds out that her laptop is gone. Who stole it? It's the lady on the right. Her hoodie pocket has an odd square shape. Nathan sneaked out of the house late in the evening to meet with his girlfriend. The teenager thought he was extremely careful and quiet, but his whole family knew about his plan. They also knew that the guy would return at midnight. They decided to make a bet. The one who would see Nathan first when the guy started climbing the fence would be the winner. No chores for them for 1 week. Not to fall asleep, Nathan's dad switched on the TV. The guy's grandfather settled in the living room to read a book. The grandmother went to the kitchen to make pizza, and Nathan's mom went to her room, sat down on the floor, and started to meditate. Who's going to be the first to spot Nathan when the time comes? Nathan's mom. Her eyes will be used to the darkness, and she will see better than the others. A young lady has the same number of brothers and sisters, but each of her brothers has 2 times fewer brothers than the sisters. How many sisters and brothers are there in the family? There are 4 girls and 3 guys in the family. A jewelry store called the police. He shouted, "My store has been robbed!" When the officers arrived at the place, they couldn't see the man. Suddenly, they heard someone banging on the door, hidden in the corner. When they unlocked it, they saw a man. It was the manager. "Someone locked me in here. It must have been one of the shop assistants." The police officers asked the man to call his employees. They were going to question them. "Just a second, I can't find my phone. Ah, there it is." The manager didn't even start to dial the number when the officers arrested him. Why? If he was locked in the room while the phone was lying on the counter, how could he call the police? Oh, this situation doesn't look good. Which path would you choose? Walking over moving snakes? Yikes! These spiders with red crosses on their backs are highly venomous, so your best choice is to pick the third path. These piranhas aren't very large, plus they won't be able to bite through your thick rubber flippers. There are 2 people standing near the river. A boat can carry only one of them, and still, both of them manage to get to the other bank. How come? These people were on different banks. How many bricks does it take to complete a building? Just one. It'll be the last one. How can you make 7 an even number without subtraction, addition, multiplication, or division? Just drop the letter S. Scott, an infamous burglar, came home one evening. Just a day before, he had stolen some very expensive paintings from Mr. Smith's house. He was in the living room when he noticed several police officers approaching his home. Scott gave instructions to his wife and slipped out through the back door. When the officer knocked on the door, Scott's wife told them, "My husband has been away for a week already. He's actually supposed to come home today." At this moment, Scott entered the house. He hugged his wife as if they hadn't seen each other for ages. But the police officers didn't believe them. Why? Look at the dog. If its owner had been away for a week, the animal would be jumping around, happy and excited. But the animal saw Scott just a couple of minutes ago and isn't showing too much enthusiasm. Adam likes grapes, but not potatoes. He likes peas, but not onions, and eats squash, but not lettuce. Can you figure out the pattern and say whether Adam will eat apples or some pumpkin? Adam likes everything that grows on vines. He'll pick a pumpkin. All the people working in the offices, Janice, Brian, Teresa, Sean, and Roy, used the fridge in the kitchen to store their lunch. On Friday, Janice opened the fridge to get her bacon and cheese sandwich she'd brought from home, but it wasn't there. Someone had eaten her lunch. Who was it? It couldn't be Brian. There's a wet umbrella near his desk. He's just come in. Teresa is a vegan. Look at that poster over her desk saying Vegan Festival in Smiletown. So she doesn't eat either cheese or bacon. Roy is on a diet the starting date of which you can see in his calendar, and such a sandwich is by no means light food. This means Sean was the one who stole Janice's sandwich. Oliver was attacked in his flat and taken to the hospital. There are 4 suspects, all of them Oliver's neighbors. Amelia said she'd been walking in the park since early morning. Henry told the police he'd been painting in his studio and hadn't heard anything. Jacob said he'd been repairing his car. Sophia answered she'd been taking a bath for the past 3 hours. Look at these people's hands and try to figure out who's lying. It's a bit strange that Jacob, who was repairing his car, and Henry, who was painting, both have such clean hands. But they could have been wearing gloves. On the other hand, Sophia's hands and fingers don't have wrinkles. But it would be a natural skin reaction after 3 hours in a bathtub. Carl, an heir to a giant fortune, was found unconscious during a loud party. His sister Sarah stumbled across him in the bathroom. The guy was lying on the floor. Sarah immediately called the ambulance and the police. Carl was taken to a hospital. Doctors saved his life, but the guy was still unconscious. He couldn't talk. When the police questioned Sarah, she told them that her brother had felt unwell. He went to the bathroom to freshen up. After some time, she heard some noise and went to check on him. Carl must have slipped and hit his head on the sink. After the police heard this story, the sister got arrested right away.
Oh no!
Why? For one thing, it happened during a loud party. How could the girl hear any suspicious noise? But most importantly, Carl was also lying too far away from the sink, which was on the other side of the bathroom. Look at this picture. Can you figure out who this kid's mom is? It's the woman on the left. She has 2 juice boxes on the bench next to her. Detective Lee was called to a small family cafe. The owner told him her story. I went away to the kitchen for a couple of minutes, but when I came back, I saw that all the money from the cash desk had been stolen.
Oh no!
At that time, there were only 3 visitors in the cafe. All of them were women. When the detective asked them who had taken the money, each of them exclaimed, "It was her!" The first woman added, "The owner is my friend. How could I do this to her?" The second woman said, "I was looking out of the window, drinking my coffee. I didn't see anything." And the third woman claimed she would never steal anything. Who took the money? Detective Lee quickly figured out that the thief was the second woman. First of all, the 2 others pointed at her. Secondly, she claimed that the first woman had stolen the money. But if she had been looking out the window, how could she know this? Someone stole several expensive t-shirts from a designer clothing store. The manager told the security guard he had half an hour to find the thief.
If you don't make it in time, you'll be fired.
The guard rushed to watch the CCTV footage. Luckily, he managed to figure out who the thief was before his time ran out. And do you know who it was? It's the man in the dark blue sweater. His belly miraculously became larger after he spent some time in the store. He must be hiding the t-shirts under his sweater. One clothing store owner invented a curious method of pricing his goods. Socks cost $25, a vest $20, a tie $15, and a t-shirt had a price of $30. Following this method, how much would a pair of underwear cost? $45. The shop owner charged $5 for each letter of the item's name.
Are you ready for a new detective journey? Then buckle your seatbelts and let's go. Mary was walking through the park when she spotted a hungry kitten. The woman decided to share her snack with the animal. Unfortunately, there was a stream between her and the kitty. She squatted down to attract the cat's attention and showed it the food. The animal was next to her in no time. There was no bridge over the stream, and still, the cat wasn't wet. How is it possible? It happened in the winter and the stream was frozen. In a lake, there is a patch of lily pads. Every day, the patch doubles in size. If it takes 48 days for the patch to cover the entire lake, how long will it take for the patch to cover half the lake? The patch doubles in size every day. So on the 47th day, the patch will be half the size it is on the 48th day. You are in a place called Bobby's World, and there is only one law there. There is a mirror, but no reflection. There is pizza with cheese, but not with ham. There is pepper, but no salt. There is a door, yet no entrance or exit. What is the law in this strange world? Everything in Bobby's World must contain double letters in its name. Kenneth was hungry.
Oh my god!
He found a nice diner that served burgers and bought one. After a waiter brought him his order, Kenneth went to the bathroom to wash his hands. But when he came back, his burger was gone. The guy looked around the diner and understood who had taken his lunch. Can you figure it out? It's the young woman with a dog sitting at her feet and sniffing the air. If she was just drinking coffee, which is what she's pretending to do, the dog wouldn't be so interested in her. Look at these two guys. One is big and burly, and the other is short and thin. They're in a cafe, drinking identical drinks. The shorter one gulps his drink down in one go and leaves. The other man sips his drink slowly. Then he falls to the floor and is taken to a hospital. Can you explain why it happened if they had the same drinks? drinks contained poisoned ice cubes. The man who enjoyed his drink gave these ice cubes time to melt and release the poison, while the other man didn't. An Arab sheikh told his two sons that they had to race their camels to a distant city to see who would inherit his fortune. The one whose camel arrived last would win. After wandering aimlessly for days, the brothers asked a wise man for advice. After listening to his opinion, they jumped on the camels and raced as fast as they could to their destination. What did the man tell them? The wise man told them to switch their camels. Look at these two guys. They're wearing similar clothes, both holding coffee cups, and in general, seem to be perfectly okay. But one of them is a werewolf in disguise. Which one? Look at the guy on the right. There are strange marks on the rim of his cup. Were they left by his fangs? Also, his pupils are a bit elongated. And there is a paw print design on the plastic bag he's holding. Is it a special store for werewolves? A rich entrepreneur disappeared from his office. The only thing he left behind was a note with the numbers 6, 4, 9, 10, and 11 and a calendar. The police have 5 suspects. All of them the businessman's acquaintances. James, Kevin, Carol, Jason, and Laura. Who knows something about the man's disappearance? Jason. The numbers mean months of the year, and the first letters of these months make up his name, Jason. A furious traveler at the airport claimed the contents of his baggage had disappeared. When I got my suitcase, it was empty. I want you to compensate for what I've lost. After checking the passenger's info, airport security found out that he had indeed left London with a heavy suitcase, and now his bag was empty and a bit wet. The whole situation was suspicious. Can you figure out what happened? The passenger left London with a suitcase full of ice. During the flight, the ice melted, and the man demanded compensation for the lost belongings. Matthew bought a new smartphone and a phone case. He paid $510. The gadget cost $500 more than the case. How much did Matthew pay for the phone? He paid $505. Last night, on a full moon, several people disappeared in the city. Locals believe that the kidnapper was a werewolf, and you are invited to investigate this case. There are 3 suspects, Jack, Levi, and Luke, but all of them have alibis. Jack was walking with his girlfriend near the river. Levi was choosing a silver ring for himself in the mall. And Luke, who is a museum guard, had a night shift at work. Which guy is guilty? Jack was walking under a full moon and didn't turn into a werewolf. Levi wasn't afraid to put on silver rings. The werewolf and potential kidnapper is Luke. Detective Black's assistant, Josh, was late for work. When he arrived, he told his boss the following story. I was driving along the highway when I saw an unconscious man lying on the left side of the road. I picked him up and took him to the nearest hospital. Finally, he came to his senses. He told me he had been pushed out of a moving vehicle, but the bag with all his money and documents was left inside. Strangely, Detective Black told Josh that the man had lied to him. How did he figure it out? If the man had indeed been pushed out of the car, he would have been lying on the right side of the road, not the left one. Criminals caught 3 men and locked them in a basement with only one window, high above the floor. Oh, no. The men decided that at least one of them needed to escape and warn the police. The men stood on each other's shoulders, but the one on the top still couldn't reach the window. But then they did something, and one of them managed to escape. Can you figure out what they did? The tallest of them climbed on the top, and since, proportionally, this man also had longer arms, he managed to reach the window. You find yourself in a room with no windows. There are 3 doors leading out of the room. Suddenly, a big screen on the wall lights up. You read, "Behind each of these doors, there is some danger. The first door leads to a scorching hot desert. Several steps, and the sun will burn you. Behind the second door, there is a hungry alligator that hasn't eaten for a year. And the third door hides a pool with icy water. To get to freedom, you'll have to swim across it. Which door should you choose to survive?" Alligators can indeed go without food for up to 3 years, which means that the creature behind the second door is hungry and dangerous. Freezing water can cause cold shock in an unprepared swimmer. That's why you should choose the first door. You just need to wait for the sun to go down and walk through the desert.
Oh, yes.
James came to a cafe to drink coffee. But when a waitress brought him a cup, the man found a fly in his drink. He called the waitress and told her to bring him another coffee. She did. But when James took a sip from his cup, he got really angry and asked to call a manager. He complained that the waitress had brought him the same coffee. How did he understand it? The new coffee was already sweet because James had already put sugar in his first cup before finding the fly.
Jeremiah is on the run from the police. He stole several large gold bars from the bank. He has 3 gold bars in his arms, each weighing 20 pounds. In fact, there's a way for him to get away with that. All he needs to do is to cross a bridge. But here's the kicker. The bridge can only support 200 pounds. The 3 bars of gold weigh 60 pounds, and Jeremiah weighs 160 pounds. How can he cross the bridge without getting rid of any of the bars? Seems like to do so, one of the bars should literally float in the air. To make it happen, Jeremiah must juggle them. This way, only 2 bars will be acting on the bridge, while the third one will be airborne. Voila! 160 plus 20 plus 20 equals 200. So the bridge isn't likely to let Jeremiah down. You're playing Dodgeball with 2 other people, Arnie and Preston. You're standing in a triangle, and you all take turns throwing a ball at one of the others of your choosing until only one person is remaining. You have a 30% chance of hitting someone you aim at. Arnie has a 50% chance, and Preston a 100% chance. Yeah, this guy never misses. If you hit somebody, they are out and no longer get a turn. If the order of throwing is you, Arnie, and then Preston, what should you do to have the best chance of winning? First, you gotta miss the first time on purpose. If you try to hit Arnie and you do hit him, then Preston goes next and he will 100% hit you and you will lose for sure. If you aim at Preston and hit him, then Arnie will go for you. If you miss on your first turn, Arnie will go for Preston for sure because he's a stronger player. If he hits him, then it's just you and Arnie, but you are going first. If he misses, then Preston will hit Arnie and it will be just you and Preston. But again, in this case, you are going first. It will be a 30% chance, but this way, you're in the finals. A man wants to enter an exclusive club, but he doesn't know the password. Another man walks to the door, and the doorman says 12. The man says 6, and is let in. Another man walks up, and the doorman says 6. The man says 3 and is let in. Thinking he has heard enough, he walks up to the door and the doorman says 10, he says 5, and he isn't let in. What should he have said? Three. He should have said how many letters were in the number he said. A thief enters a high-end boutique and frightens the shop assistant, forcing him to open the safe. The shop assistant says, The code for the safe is different every day, and if you try to do anything to me, you'll never get the code." But the thief manages to guess the code on his own. How did he do it? That thief was smart. The code is different. The shop assistant told him this. A woman is found alone in the middle of the desert. She's surrounded by a pile of debris and a wrecked plane. There are no other signs of life in the area. Despite the crash, the woman is alive and well. Nothing serious happened to her, and she appears to be in good health. How did she survive? Look closer. The woman wasn't on the plane when it crashed. She survived by jumping out of the airplane with a parachute before it crashed. Two fathers and their two sons go fishing together. They each catch one fish to take home with them. They do not lose any fish, and yet when they get home, they only have 3 fish. How can this happen? There are just 3 people: a grandfather, his son, and his grandson. A super wealthy businessman, Mr. Ben Swift, was taken and left locked up all alone in a dark room. His phone almost ran out of charge, so he can write only one message. He knows that someone might spy on his phone, so he decided to write a message with a code to a high school friend, John Smith, who has a detective agency. He remembered that in high school, they would cipher messages to each other, shifting one letter to the right each time they needed to write a secret code. So, check this out. Can you guess what it means? It's not gibberish. The message is, "It was my accountant." You were wandering in the jungle, and all of a sudden, you saw a magnificent antique castle. You enter it and see its inhabitants. It's kind of hard to say if they're friendly or not, but hey, look, they just fetched you some snacks. Still, you can tell from their grins that these snacks must be a trap for you. You can't say no to them and need to choose something to eat. There are 4 muffins before you, all looking yummy, and your mouth is watering. One of the dwellers, who seems to be their leader, tells you that the first muffin has some fermented cabbage inside. The second one is swarming with live ants. The third one has mud instead of chocolate cream, and the fourth one has ackee fruit inside. So, which dessert would you opt for? A muffin with fermented cabbage may sound weird and not dessert-like, but it's safe. You've tried fermented cabbage, also known as kimchi, before, and you loved it. For those who love to risk, the fourth one could be good to go too. Ackee fruit is delicious when cooked properly. But you weren't sure if the dwellers took care of cooking it well. As for ants and mud muffins, I'd pass on them for sure. Mary is a nail technician. Her services are free to anyone who wants to set up an appointment with her. However, most people still end up paying here. How so? Mary only does one hand for free, so most people who come to get her services end up paying the full price. They don't really want to look bizarre with the nails done only on one hand. Jocelyn went grocery shopping and bought a lot of milk, yogurts, meat, and cheese. When she came back home, she realized she had nowhere to store all these products, as her fridge was already full. How can she save all the food that she bought? Jocelyn needs to order stuff in her fridge. Look, here's a pack of rice, some chips, and even cookies. These products don't need to be stored in the fridge. Once she takes it all out of the fridge, she'll have enough space to store dairy products and meat. Phil's teacher is a great person, but like many other people, he has some oddities. He would never let Phil go home until he solves one of his tricky riddles. This time, the riddle is, how many apples in total are there on a pine if there are 5 apples on each branch and there are 8 branches on the tree?
Uh-oh.
Okay, this one was easy. There are no apples on a pine. There are cones. Poor Kathy lived with a stepmother and 3 wicked stepsisters. Sounds familiar. Her dream was to go to a lit party she's been waiting for all year long. Her stepmother, Evelyn, never let Kathy go anywhere. This time, Evelyn decided to let Kathy go when she has finished all the tasks given by Evelyn. The stepmother asked Kathy to bring her some water, but she gave her a colander to carry water in. How can Kathy bring the water if she has nothing but a colander? Kathy needs to freeze some water and put it in the colander. It takes some time to melt, but when Evelyn gets that colander full of ice, technically, she'll have a colander full of water. Hey Kathy, make sure to be back by midnight. You need a ride?